So in today's section, 8.5, we're going to be factoring a quadratic trinomial that does not have a leading coefficient. So remember, a quadratic is a polynomial where its highest degree is 2, and a trinomial has 3 terms. So when there is nothing in front of the x squared term, it's 1. That's what we are going to be focusing on today. But before we get there, we want to review quickly how to FOIL. When we multiply two binomials together, we're going to end up with a trinomial. Okay, if we FOIL those together, you have first times first, which equals x squared. You have x times b as our outside terms. We are considering b as a coefficient, as a number there. So we would go ahead and call that bx. You have your inside terms, which would be ax, and then your last terms, which would be a times b. Now, if we think about this, where x is the variable, these two terms are like terms. Okay, they both have the same variable. Remember, I said that a and b are going to be numbers. So if that's the case, we would actually combine these two terms together. We would actually have a plus b, the quantity, times x. So you'd have x squared plus this whole term plus the product of a and b. Now, why did I go over that? Well, it becomes, I wanted to show you that because of when we go the other way. Okay, if we start with the quadratic and we want to break it down into the factors, we need to look at our constant term and our linear term. Our goal is to find the factors of C that have a sum of B, as I showed you up here. The factors of C. Okay, so what does it mean to have a factor? Well, it's A times B. So it's these two numbers times together make C. Whatever these two numbers are, when we add them together, they add up to B. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like. Okay, the first example is when C is positive. This is typically the easier case. You have x squared plus 5x plus 4. Okay, what we are looking for, what multiplies to make 4 that adds up to 5, positive 5. So if you need help with that, well, what are the factors of 4? What multiplies to make 4? Well, you have 1 and 4 or 2 and 2. Which of these, when you add them together, make positive 5? Well, obviously the 1 and the 4. So you would write this as x plus 1 and x plus 4. And that's how you factor this. Okay, you can check it by FOILing. Okay, x times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. 1 times x is 1x. And 1 times 4 is 4. And when you combine these like terms here, you have x squared plus 5x plus 4, which is what we started with. So this right here was our answer, x plus 1 and x plus 4. Now, it doesn't matter if you wrote this as x plus 4 and then x plus 1, because you would still end up with this same trinomial at the end if you factored, or if you FOILed it together. Okay, so if we look at another example, we're just going to go through a bunch of examples today. Okay, x squared plus 8x plus 15. What multiplies together to make 15? That adds up to 8. Okay, well, what are the factors of 15? 1 and 15 or 3 and 5? Since everything's positive, our factors have to be positive. So the only one that makes 8 are the 3 and the 5. So we have x plus 3 and x plus 5. And again, you could write x plus 5 and then x plus 3. That is an equivalent answer. They're the same thing. Okay, so I have a number of problems here. I have 4 of them to do. You can pause the video and try them right now before we get to them, because I'm going to kind of go through them quickly with you. So go ahead and pause now if you need to. Try and guess them on your own. Otherwise, all right, here we go. Factors of 24 that make 11. Well, the only way to get 24 are 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, or 4 and 6. The only ones that add up to 11 would be 3 and 8. So this is m plus 3 and m plus 8, or the other way around. Okay, this next one, you have a minus 7 in the middle, but that doesn't matter because the last term is still positive. Okay, so you still consider the factors of 10, 1 and 10, or 2 and 5. Now, because the last term is positive, these signs have to be the same. So, because the middle term is negative, that sign means that they both have to be negative. So which one makes negative 7? Well, obviously negative 2 and negative 5. Okay, so when everything is based on the last term, if the constant is positive, the signs are the same. We're going to get to what happens if the constant is negative. We'll get down there. Okay, but when the constant is positive, as we see in all these first examples, the signs are going to be the same. Okay, so what are the factors of positive 8 that make negative 6? Well, that would be negative 4 and negative 2. What are the factors of positive 36 that make negative 12? That would be negative 6 and negative 6. Because remember, if we were to FOIL this out, you'd have w squared, you'd have negative 6w, you'd have another negative 6w, which would make your negative 12w, and then you have negative 6 times negative 6, which gives you positive 36. Okay, when c is negative, when our last term is negative, all that tells us is that you're going to have one of each. Okay, you're going to have one positive factor and one negative factor, or it might be negative and then positive. Okay, it doesn't really, I'm just telling you there's going to be one of each. Okay, now here the signs do matter because they have to be attached to the right number. So what are the factors of negative 15? So okay, think of 15. Again, you get 1 in 15 or 3 in 5. You know you have to have one of each, and you need to make a positive 2. Well, how can you combine either 1 in 15 or 3 in 5 to make a positive 2? Well, if you choose the 3 and the 5, if the 3 is negative and the 5 is positive, when you add those together, you get positive 2. So this would be x minus 3 and then x plus 5. Or you could write x plus 5 and then x minus 3. Those are the same. What is not the same would be x plus 3 and x minus 5. Why? Because when you add those together, you get negative 2. So this is wrong. Okay, so as long as you keep the sign with the correct number, it doesn't matter the order that you write them in. Okay, x squared minus 4x minus 21. Factors of 21. Either 1 in 21 or 3 in 7. To make a negative 4, the 7 needs to be negative and the 3 needs to be positive. Okay, 2 more. Go ahead and pause it if you want to try them before I do them. Otherwise, factors of negative 35 that make negative 2, well, that would be negative 7 and positive 5. And finally, the factors of negative 72 that add up to 1. Remember, if there's nothing in front of the variable, there's a 1 there. So what are the factors of 72 that add up to 1? Well, I want to list all the possible factors of 72, but remember, 8 times 9 is 72. In this case, you need a positive 9 and a negative 8. And that gives us the correct factorization of that.